Hello, I'm Chris Eberspecher from Iris PV. Iris PV makes a high-efficiency solar panel for high-impact applications. Solar is semiconductor devices that convert sunlight directly to electricity. Globally, it's maybe $100 to $150 billion a year and growing rapidly. It creates inexpensive, reliable, globally available, clean electricity. It is, if you will, an unmitigated success. The same cannot be said for module making, which is the core of the business. The module making business has been something of a financial bloodbath. Yes, shipments have increased year after year, sometimes at quite steep rates, but the average selling prices have come down every bit as steeply, so that the total revenue base for module manufacturing is reasonably flat, and margins are very slim, often negative. It's a classic commodity product today. If you look at the solutions, you might say, well, I'm going to try to make a cheaper module, but people have already wrung out a lot of the value throughout the vertical value chain of making a module. You might say, I'm going to make a better solar module, but 95% of what's made today is already made with crystalline silicon, and crystalline silicon is very near its theoretical efficiency limits. And so really, the choices you have are how do you break out of that? And one way to understand what the choices are is to look at not the cost of the module, but the module in the total cost of a system. If you look at the total cost of a PV system, the pie in the lower right-hand corner is a US residential system on a rooftop in the US. You can see that the module itself is less than a quarter of the total cost. The majority of the costs are everything but the module. So if you really could make a better module, even if it wasn't cheaper, you could amortize all those other costs. To the rescue, material science. Basically, in the last 3 years, a new class of semiconductor materials have come to the fore, perovskites. Perovskites are thin film, direct band gap materials, which have the unique characteristic of also being a wide band gap material. And because of that, they can be very efficient at converting visible sunlight and be transparent to the infrared sunlight. So instead of making a crystalline silicon module like you might see on the bottom, or instead of making a thin film module like you might see at the top, you make a semi-transparent thin film perovskite module, made it to the bottom, and create a module that produces 50% more power, and because of that, amortizes all of those non-module costs more effectively. Iris PV is founded by Colin Bailey and myself. Colin is one of the world's experts in the material science of perovskites, recent PhD graduate from Stanford, held the world record for both single junction and tandem junction perovskites. My background is basically the same as Colin's, but 30 years before. I've spent the last 30-odd years scaling up photovoltaics. So if you look at the types of things that Colin does, Colin works on this material science, the devices, the processes. My expertise is in how to make things at a commercial scale, in high volume, and at low cost. We'd be delighted to have you come by and chat with us. Thank you.